If you and I sat down and had a conversation that lasted more than 5 minutes, we would almost certainly end up talking about things that we used to love, things that shaped us, things that we wish we could experience again. It's in our nature to look back fondly on the happy times in our lives. And if you take anything away from what I'm about to say, let it be this. It's great to love things. Even things we can never really experience again. That's nostalgia in a nutshell. The wistful yearning for things long past. And inherently, there's nothing wrong with nostalgia. It is neither good nor evil, and the impact that it has on you is entirely under your control. But it's a thing that needs to be chosen, because unchecked nostalgia can run you down and consume you like an eldritch Pac-Man. Let me preface this section by saying that I am often at risk of being consumed by both first and second-hand nostalgia. Here are some examples. I believe rock and roll peaked somewhere between the 60s and 80s. This is second-hand nostalgia, by the way. My parents introduced me early on to music they loved, and I came to love it too. Furthermore, I will always argue that Star Wars has gotten progressively and considerably worse since the original trilogy, evidenced by the fact that Jar Jar Binks is no longer as universally despised as he once was. Candy absolutely tasted better when I was growing up too, and it's not just my preferences that have changed. I could go on, but in the specific scenario of video game nostalgia, for better or worse, I'm almost entirely immune. With that out of the way, it's important to note that I started my first ever playthrough of Ocarina of Time, which is also my first Zelda game, a few weeks ago. I'm 39, and a father of 3 young boys. To say that I'm coming to these games late is an understatement, considering that I would have been 12 when the game originally released. I come from the Ocarina of Time generation. Link and I could have faced puberty together, explored eerie forests together, and had our first crushes together. But it wasn't to be. Instead, when I entered my teenage years and began playing video games besides those meant for education or running on MS-DOS, I delved wholeheartedly and hot-headedly into competitive gaming. Maybe those are stories for another time. They were certainly formative, if rarely positive. But the point is that I played almost none of what most people would consider classic games. So here I am, playing Ocarina of Time completely blind on the eve of my 40th birthday. Then, mere days after I started my playthrough, a great disturbance was felt on the internet. In the now ancient past of June 9th, 2026, Nintendo announced the remake of Ocarina of Time. They tell me it wasn't a surprise. Many people apparently knew it was coming. But that didn't dull the rejoicing of untold throngs of 30 and 40-somethings who heard the ethereal toot-toot of the ocarina calling from their speakers in their youth simultaneously, weaving a nostalgic harmony and carrying them into pixelated bliss. I, on the other hand, have no memories of Hyrule. I'm an observer of this massive tidal wave of oncoming reminiscence. But as I said before, I'm not immune to the phenomenon itself. So my observations have prompted a lot of thinking about nostalgia, both from the inside and outside. So here's the first observation. Get ready. It's as insightful as they come. This remake is hyped. Yeah, you're welcome. I teach deductive reasoning on Thursdays, but seriously, I don't think I've ever seen such far-reaching cultural reactions to a game remake. And rightfully so. Many people love Ocarina of Time. From what I understand, many people also consider it to be the best game ever. The majority of an entire gaming generation shares deep, powerful connections to this game. But come back with me, if you will. Come back to a simpler time many, many years ago. Close your eyes and picture this. You're in your childhood room, feeling the freshly cleaned carpet under your elbows and knees as you absent-mindedly trace the tracks left behind by the wheels of the vacuum cleaner. Your hair still carries the chemical-sweet smell of chlorine from the pool trip that afternoon. The skin on your arms and back feels tight and tingly as it relaxes after being bathed in the warm water and the hot sun. You see the matte plastic bowl of vibrant orange Cheetos next to you, their unnatural color promising that not quite cheesy hit that your taste buds crave. You look at your fingers and wonder, briefly, if the taste is worth the orange stain before deciding almost instantly that of course it is. It suddenly occurs to you that you and your best friend have a new Dungeons & Dragons campaign planned for that very night. It's an expedition that should last for months, all the way through the rugged winter. You look forward to countless snowy evenings spent defeating goblins and necromancers. Your best friend is a hunter, you're a paladin. Evil doesn't stand a chance. In front of you sits your state-of-the-art CRT television, into which is plugged your N64, into which is inserted Ocarina of Time. You've finished the game twice, but are already deep into your third playthrough and are enjoying it just as much as the first 2 times. You boot it up, hear the familiar theme, and your consciousness fades into Hyrule and Link's next adventure. Alright, you can open your eyes. How much of that memory is Ocarina of Time? Only a small portion, right? Can you recapture the other elements? The innocence, the zest for life, the young and tireless body? Sadly, you can't. Nostalgia is magical, but it doesn't bring back the past as much as we might want it to. It's a beautiful and terrible illusion. Unsurprisingly, the effects of nostalgia have been studied in academia. They really do study anything these days. There are 2 articles linked in the description, and as with many academic studies, these 2 present the opposing sides of the same topic. One of them argues that nostalgia is a net benefit to society. The other argues that it's a net detriment. I'm not going to directly quote or even reference either of these articles, but please give them a read if you're the sort, like me, that enjoys scholarly journals. They're actually quite fascinating. Now that we've built this up and told stories by the flickering pixels, let's address the potential negatives of nostalgia. I'm no psychologist, but I do, in fact, have a psyche, and I've struggled with these downsides in 2 distinct ways. The first is that excessive nostalgia leads to the inability to appreciate what's happening right now. If you have a curmudgeonly side, like I do, it's already too easy to think that everything modern isn't as good as things used to be. We chuckle and nod at the jokes about an old man yelling something about his yard at loitering street youths, but that's often all too close to reality for me. Go back to the examples of music and Star Wars, add reading practices and social media obsession and a host of other things, and you'll start to have an idea of the topics I catch myself ranting about. Leaning into nostalgia only makes it harder to look for what's good in the modern world, and there is a lot of it, especially in the passionate creations of people who are just as invested in their art as the people who made art when I was growing up. Modern artists shouldn't be penalized because they don't benefit from my nostalgia goggles. Besides, many things are more beautiful and nuanced in their imperfection. I'm even more familiar with the other side of the struggle. That's not feeling nostalgia for things I wish I did. Not feeling nostalgia, but wishing you did, leads to regret, which leads to bitterness, which leads to the dark side. If FOMO, or fear of missing out, is the thing with which we're all painfully familiar, I guess this is fear of having missed out. FOMO, which all of a sudden sounds like an arch-villain from Tolkien's Middle-earth. There have been countless times during which I desperately wished I felt nostalgia for something. Games, movies, experiences of a particular food, or shared social moment I might have missed because I was homeschooled. Ocarina of Time is a prime example here, honestly. Even as I play, I feel my mind wandering and thinking about all the new games on my backlog with better graphics and less janky controls. And all the while I wish so much that I could be enraptured by the siren song of childhood memories. Honestly, it makes me uncomfortable. It tempts me to resent the ways I did spend my youth, most of which were healthy and excellent in their own right. But I'm someone who's easy prey for prowling regrets, and unshared nostalgia is a perfect bait. Here's the thing about that bait, though. FOMO only sinks its wicked teeth into you because nostalgia itself is valuable. You can't grieve the absence of something worthless. So before you decide the safest move is to just stop caring about old things altogether, let me be clear about something. It's absolutely not bad to love old things. In fact, it's evidence of your fundamental ability to love things at all. And many old things are better than modern things, too many to list. Age should never be a primary factor in how something is judged. And even if a thing isn't considered good by this or that critical party, if you love it for any reason, it's worthy. It's valuable to you, which is the only way that anything can ever really be measured. We don't experience societal consensus or review aggregation. We experience what is inside each of our own minds. Nothing more and nothing less. If it impacted you for the better and you look back on it fondly, it's a good thing. Shared nostalgia is also a powerful vector for social connection, and that's also good. Extremely good, all caps. Social connection is often missing in our ever more digitalized lives. And I don't know about you, But most of my social connections are made because of something I grew up loving. Video games, sports, fantasy novels, even specific foods. Nerds, and I use that word in the most adoring way possible, love to love things. Even at 39, I only consider myself a fledgling nerd because I've met so many incredible nerdy people who are so passionate about life and all the things they cherish. And that's built on nostalgia too. I hope you don't take anything I've said as condemnation for how much you love Ocarina of Time, or anything else for that matter. On the contrary, I think you should probably love it more. Embrace the things you adore. They make you who you are, and they help you stand fast against the cacophony of voices telling you what you should love. Just don't hold the old things you love so tightly that they keep you from loving other things, or from finding new things to love. Nostalgia can be a bionic exoskeleton that supercharges your ability to find the things that energize and empower your unique experience of this beautiful world. It can also be a scaffold that props up your withering and atrophied appreciation muscles. It's a tool, or an anchor. For better or worse, we get to choose. And Star Wars really was so much better when I was growing up.